This is Conversations, and I'm your host, Tony Russell. Today, we are joined by Graham Nedak of Bad Boys Coffee.
Good morning. How are you?
Because I'm from the South, I think I dropped the A in Graham. I think it's a. How would you say your name?
I say Graham. I'm from the South, too, and I worked really hard to drop my accent when I got out here, but if I start talking to you, it's going to come right back.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, is that Graham? There's got to be, but I just say Graham, like graham cracker, right?
Like graham crackers. You got it. I grew up around Graham. You would have thought there was a Y in my name my whole childhood.
There you go. Well, I'm so glad to have you on today. You have a very interesting story. It's a story that honestly it takes longer than we have to say to talk about today, but we'll give people a way that they can come and find you, and that is to come to one of your coffee shops. How's that sound?
Well, it sounds good. The only problem is we don't have a coffee shop yet. We do these events, and I heard this shout out that Ellen gave us today, and which we really appreciate it. So I'll kind of set it up and tell you that we only sell coffee online right now, and 3 months ago, we started going out to meet the public. We started doing special events. Last night marked our 11th event in 11 weeks. And if you had asked me 3 months ago that we would travel over 2,100 miles to go and get our name out there, I would have told you were crazy and that I probably wasn't up for the challenge.
Well, it's an extremely competitive business, the coffee business. I'm going to guess here in the Great Northwest.
It is without a doubt, but it's a very social business, and that's the cool thing about what we do is we go out to these events, and we've been out to a few of them where people pay us for coffee, and we do other ones, like the one last night was for Up Late Northwest TV show. We're the official coffee of the show now, and we give out samples, but it's a great chance for us to meet the public and share the story behind the name of our coffee, the quality of our coffee, the things that are important to people. I feel if you're going to drink somebody's coffee, it's one thing to have a good taste in coffee. It's another thing to kind of understand why our coffee is special to us and unique to us.
Right. And let's start with that. Let's start with the name, because the name of the coffee is Bad Boys Coffee. Why did you name it Bad Boys Coffee?
So all the guys that are in the company, and there are 10 of us, we're all former drug users that all did time in prison as a result of either our drug use or crimes related to our drug use. It was the name Bad Boys seemed to be perfectly fitting. Right. So some of us actually did time together. Others of us got to know each other outside after we got out of prison, out of work release. It's a small circle of people you know eventually when you've been locked up, and so everybody knows somebody that's been locked up. And so I was very fortunate to be able to handpick some of the guys that I work with. And I tend to say that people that use drugs are not necessarily bad. People may be broken, and not broken necessarily in a defective way. It's just that there's something that went wrong inside, and there's a reason why you use drugs. It's a way to medicate the inner pain. Once you get to the point that you can address why you're medicating that inner pain, you can get through anything in life, and you can find a reason to stop using drugs. So the goal was to build a company that would allow everybody to have ownership in the company. And part of that is that just that little piece of paper saying, hey, you have 1,000 shares of stock in this company says something, and that is you're worth something and you own something. And even if it's just on paper right now, it's a matter of saying, you know what, you're important, you're valuable, you're special, and you can do something with your life. And a lot of these guys needed that. That's something that you don't necessarily always get growing up, whether you were bounced from foster home to foster home or fell through the cracks or had parents that weren't there for you, or you just went your own way in life. Sometimes you need somebody to kind of put you back on the right track.
Right. And I love what you said. We were talking earlier before the show, and you said you just want people to know that, sure, you guys have gone to prison. You've done some maybe what people would call bad things, but there was a lot of good inside of you that just needed to come out. And you guys kind of got together, and this is your way of saying, hey, we're doing something good. Sure.
And it's a good way of summing it up. I mean, the way that we started doing this is we did these we had these camping expeditions on the weekend in the Snoqualmie Mountains, and the first thing I had to do when I got out of prison was I had to literally cross out everybody in my life that would allow me to use and encourage me to use or just had a negative attitude. I mean, there's certain people you just shouldn't be around. So the best way to stay away from our friends was to go out and go camping, and we live in one of the most beautiful parts of the country. I often say that driving through Washington State is like driving through a rolling postcard. No matter where you go, it's absolutely gorgeous.
You better believe it.
We would go out and we would camp in the woods, and when you go out and you camp with somebody, you're relying on somebody, whether you're scaling down the side of a small mountain or cliff, or you're going down, you're washing dishes by the side of the creek. I mean, you really get a good concept and a good feel of what somebody is really like. So this was really the principle we built this whole company on, was we got to know each other really, really well. There had to be a level of trust among ourselves in order to be able to build a company. This is sort of like, that was our starting point. So that's why we have a campfire inspired roast. We were always making coffee over a campfire. One of my clients saw me editing photos one day, and she said, "Oh, that's what you need to do. You need to have a campfire-inspired roast." She said, "You got this. You guys can make that happen." And that was a starting point for us.
Wow. Yeah, it's a great story. And, I was a former counselor in my previous life, and the one thing, I actually used to go to prisons and do psychological evaluations and things like that. And I mean, not on just guys on the minor stuff, but guys that had done some what the society would say horrendous crimes. And I was always amazed that I would, like you said, I would leave there and I would go, man, I really like that guy. I mean, when I first started, I thought I'm going to go in. These are hardened criminals. And like you said, I'm not going to find any, there's just nothing good in there. And I would walk away going, this is a good guy who got really bad guidance in his life, or a really wonderful woman who just took the wrong path. And I think brokenness has a lot to do with that. But let's talk about the Bad Boys Coffee. How is it going for you guys? I know you're having to work other jobs right now, but are you selling some coffee?
We're selling coffee, so it's really kind of cool. So we pride ourselves in the fact that we have bootstrapped this company from day one, and we often joke. My two principal partners are Chaz Gilkey and Brian Lee, and we always say we do one of these events, and somebody has to go out and either put tile on a house or put a roof on or put a fence up, or I have, in my case, design a website or design a logo.
Right.
To pay the bills. It's kind of what makes all this so sweet. We started 3 months ago with the concept that we were going to go out and meet the public. And it's kind of funny because we built this old rustic bar. At least I built it, and I'm not a handy person. So for me to go sweat it out and build a bar, let me tell you, that takes a lot of work on my part.
Right.
It's symbolic, and so we have this really huge 300-pound coffee bar we haul out, and it kind of reflects the very best Pacific Northwest. And
right.
took it to our first event, and Chaz is on one side of the bar, and I'm on the complete opposite side of the bar, and we start talking to people, and I said, well, if you never heard about our company, we only hire people that have been locked up, and I was really low-key about it. And I kept thinking, I was trying to feel out how people were going to perceive us. And Chaz is on the other end of the bar, and he throws his hands up in the air and says, and if you've never heard our story, it's amazing. We've all been locked up, and people loved it. I was like, oh, he's got something down there. all of a sudden, I just realized that the more we celebrated our story, the more people, that's incredible. We love it. And it's kind of funny, something that to us, all of us going to this, there's a huge trail of shame that goes in being locked up, obviously. And all of a sudden, we just realized that if we celebrated, and kind of made it as unique as the principle of how we kind of founded our company, people they loved it. And it was an eye opener for us to see that we could really have a positive effect on people. And I think what I've learned, I think all of us have learned that we're very passionate, we're very enthusiastic people. We love what we do. And I feel that passion, that enthusiasm is contagious. We go out and we see people, and it's pretty cool. Our first event, we had people coming up to us just wanting to have their pictures made with us. Said, oh, you guys will go somewhere, and I'll say I met you. And it's kind of cool. And there are people that walk away, and they have tears in their eyes. And it's kind of funny to think that our stories can affect people that much. But the reality is the more we talk to people, the more we realize that they didn't understand how people kind of got on that path and kind of went their own way in life. And I always say that these guys that I work with, regardless of their past or what they did under the influence of drugs, they're the very best people I know. If I need something, I can make a phone call and it happens. And they're dedicated, they're hard workers. I mean, we have to be hard workers and probably just a little bit crazy to do what we do. I mean, we've traveled 2,100 miles in a 3-month period.
Right.
And we made a huge commitment to say, we have this great story. We're good at what we do. We're sticklers for quality. I mean, the bottom line is we sourced the very finest coffee we could find, and we found a roaster that was in business for almost 100 years, and we knew that wasn't our forte, but we knew if we partnered with the very best in the business, we could have the very best coffee out there. And we have a company motto that says that you'll love everything that you try, or we'll buy it back. And there's a reason for that. We just don't put something out there that we're not proud of. We're putting our name out there. This is our second chance. There's no third chance here. So we have to nail it, and we have to do everything right the first time. We're very big on presentation. That coffee bar weighs a lot. It's very difficult to haul around, and you can spot me in a truck with this bar in the back of my truck. You'll see me in downtown Seattle. I stand like a sore thumb. But we go out there and we put out these props, all these vintage crates and stuff. People are like, okay, I get it. And, we turn back the clock to a time that's 130 years ago when ancestors came out here on trains. They were the original empire builders. And your word was everything. Everything was about quality. Everything was handmade. And so part of what we do by turning back the clock and doing black and white photo shoots and being very big on the vintage aspect of it is that we want people to realize we put a lot of time and effort into what we do. And if we do an event, it costs us money, it costs time, but there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes in everything we do, and we're proud of that fact. And I think people get it.
Right. And, first of all, I want everyone to know they can check you out at badboys.coffee, badboys.coffee online.
Right.
And to get really deep with you here and philosophical, I think one of the reasons people like you is that you are good guys and you're very likable. The other thing is I think that all of us come to a point in life, and this is very figurative, where we feel like we're in prison. We're trapped. Maybe some of us are trapped in jobs we don't want to be, trapped in relationships we don't want to be in, trapped in just a life that we don't want in general. And to see someone who has literally been trapped and been imprisoned, to break free of that and to live life to the fullest, and not only that, take it a step further and say, you know what, we're going to have a positive impact on our world, and we're going to open our own little business here. I just think that's inspiring to people because we all want to break free and just have a good life, and it would be really nice to work for ourselves, right? Right? I mean, come on. It would be great and we all, a lot of us anyway, those of us that are entrepreneurs at heart would love to have a company that we take from the ground up. So I think people and especially in the Northwest, they want to get behind people that have that desire. And that's what I hear from you, Graham. And then give us the names of your partners as well, because we want to give them a little plug here.
Yeah, so the principal guys in here are Brian Lee and Chaz Gilkey. That's my dream team. Those are the two guys that have done more traveling with us. None of us have missed an event, with the exception of Brian. Last night was the one time Brian ever missed an event. But the reality is, those guys are like my right-hand guys. When we go to do an event, we travel together, we stay in the same hotels. It's one of those things where they make the magic happen. But we have some other guys, and we're spread all over the state. We have some guys that are as far as Spokane. Derek Sheffield and Travis Talley live all the way out in Spokane. We have Garrett Schaefer, who's up here in my neck of the woods, Jared Aho, Johnny Paquette. We have guys that are just kind of spread all over. So when we do an event, it's not like we all just pile in one car and show up. It's somebody travels 3.5 or 4 hours to get there, and somebody else travels an hour to get there. But we all travel at least an hour to go anywhere.
All right, I'm going to make this hard for you because you told me before we went on the air, you said, I am very, what was it, the word you used?
Long-winded?
Long-winded. You said you're long-winded. I don't think you've been long-winded at all. I think you've been awesome and right to point. So, if you had because we only have a few seconds here, for those people that are out there listening and maybe they have been in prison or they feel like they've just ruined their life by making mistakes, what little bit of encouragement would you like to give them to say, hey, you can turn it around?
It doesn't take much to write down a paper assessment of your life. I mean, in college there was a SWOT analysis. It's your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. And you can concentrate on your strengths and your opportunities. You can do anything. I was fortunate that I had a great instructor in prison that taught me my design skills. And all she did was praise my skills. And my best friend, my buddy from work, really, Spencer, did the same thing. And the more I was around Spencer, the more I realized that just having somebody around me that says, hey, man, you're really good at what you do. I love your work. That's really sharp. I just got this concept of, hey, wait a minute. If I live by this concept of I'm okay inside, I can celebrate that. I can bring out the best elements and work with it. And so I practice that with all the guys I work with. And, we just have a kind of a rule of thumb that we just don't have a negative attitude here. You can look inside anybody and you can concentrate on the good that's there. It may be difficult to get to it at first, but once you get it, if you celebrate it, anybody can do anything they set their mind to as long as they've got at least one good person behind them. It's just a really simple concept that works.
I love that. Surround yourself with positive people that tell you can do it.
Absolutely, and it works. I mean, we built a whole company on that. Like I said, I just, I realized that the more that I got kind of fired up about my work it was the people around me that saying, hey, you're really good at what you do. And sometimes you don't think about it. It's a really simple concept, but if you're never given that pat on the back, I don't think you ever realize what you're capable of doing. It just takes one person, and it's not much. It doesn't take very much to find the good in anybody.
Wow. Love it. Thank you so much, Graham. People, go out there and buy coffee. Go online and go to badboys.coffee. That's not a .com. It's not a .net. It's badboys.coffee. Buy lots of coffee. Help these guys get rolling. Thank you, Graham.
You got it. Thanks, Tony, man. We appreciate it.
And thanks to all of you for listening to Conversations today. Remember, this is a public awareness program of this station.